And hello everyone, Maestro here. I am the football enthusiast. Hope you are all doing well. It is scorching hot in my room, but let's get through this. The Ballon d'Or have revealed their 30 nominees, 30 men's nominees for the 2022-23 Ballon d'Or award, or just the 2023 Ballon d'Or award. The 30 men have been nominated, and yeah, it's that time of the year. I am going to make a video, hopefully sometime tomorrow or after tomorrow, in which I talk about who I think should win the Ballon d'Or, and also talk about who I think the final three should be, who I think should have made the list, and who I think shouldn't have made the list that did. Give my whole thoughts on that. But before I do that, there is something else I wish to talk about. But before we get into that, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn the bell on for notifications. You can also find links to all my socials down below in the description. Let's get into the video. So, into the video being me talking about the criteria for the Ballon d'Or. The criteria, the things that I think should be considered when we decide who should be in the running for the Ballon d'Or, who should win it, who should be nominated, who should be in and around the consideration for the Ballon d'Or award, what should be considered. Give you guys my thoughts on what should be considered and what shouldn't, and about how I think the way the criteria is now is slightly wrong. So, let's start. France Football and the Ballon d'Or. They advertise the Ballon d'Or as an award that goes to the best performing player of the previous season. Alright? In this case, who was the best player of the 22-23 season? That is generally what they consider. That's what they advertise the award as. That these 30 men here were the 30 best players who they think were the 30 highest performing players of the previous season. That's what they advertise the Ballon d'Or award for, and the winner will be the best performing player of the previous season. Here's the thing, that is true to some extent, but it does not go all the way. There is one other thing that I think is considered a bit too much, and it's very much something that a lot of people that dictate these awards, that vote, a lot of men and women, that these journalists that vote for these awards, they consider this one thing, I think, far too much. And it's about what your team achieved. There is too much focus, I believe, on what the team of a certain player, what they achieved, as opposed to what the player alone achieved. There is far too much focus on that, in my personal opinion, and there has been for as long as I can remember. Now, of course, they also still consider, just in general, your performances throughout the year, but there is, for me, far too much put on what the team achieves. Now, some of you may be saying, well, why is that wrong? That it's about winning games. Yes, of course, it's about winning games when it comes to the Premier League, the Champions League, the World Cup. Those are the awards for that. But the Ballon d'Or, the PFA Player of the Year, the La Liga Player of the Year, or the UEFA Player of the Year, all of these awards, it's about the player. How good was the player? That is what the Ballon d'Or is advertised as being about. And that is not the case. There are far too many situations, nominations, and even a few wins of Ballon d'Ors where we put far too much emphasis on what the team of a certain player achieved as to what the player themselves achieved, to the point where we see a lot of other players miss out when they shouldn't. A great example I can bring you, in fact, probably the best example I can bring you, and it's a very recent one, is in the year of 2021. Lionel Messi won the Ballon d'Or. Robert Lewandowski was second. Third place went to Jorginho. Jorginho finished third place in the 2021 Ballon d'Or. Why? Well, his team, his club at the time, Chelsea, won the Champions League, and then his international team went and won the Euros. So he won the two most major trophies of the year. Now, what about his individual play? Did that warrant a third place finish? Hell no. There is no one in their right mind can look at me and say in 2021, Jorginho was the third best player of the year, that is absolutely laughable and absolutely ridiculous. It's just insane. Jorginho played well in 2021. He played well. He wasn't even remotely the third best player of the year. It was an absolute joke. But because he played in two teams in which they won the Champions League and the Euros, he gets third. Far too, you get what I'm saying? That's a good example to bring up. Far too much emphasis on what the team achieves as opposed to what the player achieves. Far too much. And it's also shown on these nominations. There are players here that I just don't think belong, all because of what their teams achieved. And we'll get to that in tomorrow's video, the day after tomorrow, where I'll talk about those. But let's just relax for a bit. So the other thing, like the other explanations I can bring to you to tell you what I mean is that if you have a player like, let's say you have player A. Player A is a left winger. He has 22 goals throughout the entire year, got around 18 assists. Fantastic playmaker, created a lot, and in general, he put in so many man of the match performances. He was a 9 out of 10 throughout the entirety of the season. And then player B, a different left winger, a completely different left winger, 15 goals instead of 22, 12 assists. Good, he played very well throughout the year, but not as good as player A. His rating is like a 8.2 out of 10 as opposed to a 9, which is player A. But player B and his team won the Champions League, whilst player A only won the FA Cup. Player B will 9 times out of 10 finish above player A, even though player A played significantly better than player B. Because player B and his team they won a major trophy and player A did not, therefore player B finishes higher. That is wrong, and that is the case for the Ballon d'Or. Watching how players are nominated, reasons that are given by a lot of media as to why this person should win, shows to me that that is the case. There is far too much emphasis on what a team achieves. And in my personal opinion, to end this video, the criteria, yes, we should consider what the team achieves. It should take a toll, of course, but only around 10 to 5% of our decisions. The other 90% should be how good was the player, because we need to understand it's very simple. It's a team sport. It does not matter how great one man, one player, one woman, whatever could possibly be in a game. You can't win it alone. It's always been the case from day one. It still is now. We need, the journalists, the people that decide these awards need to take into consideration a player's situation. If you want to say, oh no, this guy can't win it, of player A can't win it over player B because player B won the Champions League. Yes, but you must take into consideration the environment that player B has as opposed to player A. Player B has a fantastic team that is all in unison and just one of the best teams in the world. Player A is down in the dumps in a struggling team going through some controversies outside of football, blah 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 blah, just in a lesser team in general. These things are not taken into consideration enough, in my opinion. They are taken into consideration, just not enough. And that is the issue with me and what I think is the criteria for the Ballon d'Or. The criteria should be mainly focused how good was the player. This, whether or not their team achieved great things or not, in general, how good was the player alone? All right, it's an issue, I think, and it does bug me. It really does. It's the Ballon d'Or advertises itself as an award that goes to the best player in general, just the best player of the year. That is not the case. When you look at the nominations and a few of the winners in the past, the Ballon d'Or goes to the best player of the winning teams. You know, for example, this year is a World Cup year, and you also have the Champions League. So the Ballon d'Or will probably be between the players that won the World Cup and won the Champions League. It will between those two sets of players, and it will leave us in a position where we just forget about others that were sensational but never won anything because they just weren't in great situations, and that is an injustice to them, and it's not fair. So that's my personal opinion on the Ballon d'Or and the criteria, what I think it is and what I think it should be. Now, for those that might say, well, for the last 15 years, the Ballon d'Or has been on point. You could say, Maestro, listen, what about, in 2013 when Ronaldo won it, or in 2010 when Messi won it, even though, in 2014, Germany won the World Cup, in 2010, Spain won the World Cup. Yes, okay. If you play at the level of Messi and Ronaldo, okay, yes, then these journalists then take out, they then do carry the performances of a player higher than the achievements of a team. Okay, all right. But if you're not Messi, Ronaldo level, if you're just world-class level, you will be disregarded just because your team didn't play well. Even though you were amazing, you will miss out on the Ballon d'Or nominations as opposed to a player that was lesser than you, but because their team won more, he will be nominated and you will not, even though you were better. So, yes, there are instances in the past where even though, yes, if you are playing at the Messi, Ronaldo level, you can still win the award without winning a major trophy. But unless you're like everybody else, you can't. And that, for me, needs to change. Now, once again, like I said before, I will make a video soon, hopefully in the next few days, about who I think should win the Ballon d'Or, who I think missed out on the list, who I think shouldn't be on the list. Be sure to subscribe to keep on the lookout for that. We are going to end the video there. If you have enjoyed, please leave a like. If you want to see more, please subscribe for more. Have a great day. What do you think? Do you agree, disagree? What should the criteria be? Should the main focus be on the performances far more than the team achievements? I think they should be. Do you agree? Have a great day, and as always, take care of yourselves. It is blooming hot.